wait a minute, we are here talking about where the future of AI is heading, and no one has taught us at school that we are cyclical beings, that we have a womb, that this is where our creative power emerges from, that this is where all the stored emotions get stored off throughout our lives, throughout, like, our whole ancestors and lineages. Nobody taught us that we carry this DNA and this wisdom in our bodies. And now I'm here, I'm already 28. I was just going through my Saturn return at that point. So it was like a big existential crisis. And it was like this sort of realization of, wait, can we just stop having the most irrelevant conversations on how we are creating the technology outside? And can we just have a moment to just recognize the ancient technology that we carry in our own bodies?
Women, this is a business podcast like no other. It is time to turn on your body, your life force, your eros, and your mission. It is time to tune up the volume of your voice and your message. Let this podcast be a permission slip and a portal into the next level of expansion in your business and the next upgrade in your personal brand and body of work. I will bring to you feminine leaders, way showers, and disruptors who are doing business differently. I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. I have my guest today, Georgina Capdevila. Georgina is a voice alchemist mentor who is on a mission to guide visionary women and leaders to liberate their authentic voice and expression, to expand and amplify their message and mission. With 14 plus years of experience in the arts, creativity, and technology education field, and 3 plus years as a sound healing practitioner, she blends the ancient teachings of voice and creative expression with New Earth business and branding to support women in creating the impact their souls came here for. I am so excited to have Georgina here with me today. And, this marks a really special moment in my personal journey. And I want to give a little bit of a backstory as to how I met Georgina and why I decided and reached out to her to be on the show to really speak about us humans as technology and our voice as technology. And I feel like this message in these times where we are at this really interesting moment in time where our technology is advancing so rapidly. We are so immersed in this digital world. And at the same time, many of us are really remembering the technology that we are in our bodies and that we are in relation to our consciousness and the cosmos. And, this is the conversation I really want to have because I feel like our voice is such a catalyst to the creation that we are seeing. Our voices are these creative portals. And Georgina, you call yourself a voice alchemist, and I'm excited to learn more about what that means to you. But this conversation around us being the technology and our voice being the technology is so alive for many of us right now. And it's for a reason. It's time for us to really understand and remember the technology that we are and remember why we came here and what we came here to do. And this was a big part of my personal journey. I turned 40 earlier or the end of last year. And, it just became really clear that voice was a big theme for me moving forward. And I knew that this podcast was on the horizon. I knew I was at a point in my career where it was really time to share what I came here to say and what I came here to do. And I really wanted to understand and have a more embodied experience of my voice and my message. And that's when Georgina came into my orbit. I was scrolling the Instagram and I found some of her lives, and she was speaking about voice in a way that I had never heard another human speak about voice before. And I was just like, I binged all of them, and I saw she was launching her mastermind called The Calling, and I literally signed up right away. I've never done that. I'm not usually that spontaneous, but it was just this like soul resonance of like, of course, I've like set the intention that this is the year of voice for me. It was a 3-year in numerology. Everything was pointing to voice. This woman shows up on my feed speaking to like my soul in a way that I had, it just felt like such a fuck yes to every cell of my body. And I signed up and, we've been working together. Georgina's been my voice mentor for the last few months. And so, as I kick off this podcast, I really wanted to bring her in to speak about voice and in particular, the technology that we are as humans in this digital landscape, because you also do have a background in the technology sector. So I think it's going to be really fun to weave this conversation. So I want to ask you, just to kick this off, what fascinates you most about the technology that we are as humans? And I want you to take that wherever you want. What fascinates you most about the technology that we are?
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Meghan, for the invite. I feel so honored to be the first guest here and to have this beautiful conversation. I just want to say as well how magical our gathering, our encountering on the internet land it was, and how divinely guided it felt. No, it was like we were just a match made in heaven, because that's what really happens when we are just expressing ourselves, no, in an authentic way online as well. No, like it's just like the soul resonate with another soul, and it's like, ding, like, hey, we're a match here, and that's how we started working together. And I just wanted to honor that magic as well, and that divinity that guided us in the right moment, in the right time, to just come together and exchange our energies and be working together at this capacity. So yeah, thank you once again for your invite and for trusting your channel as well to lead yourself to my world, no? And I love your question. Where do we start? What is the thing that fascinates me the most about the technology that we are? So I feel here, I just feel the call to start like talking a little bit now about also my background in the technology sector, because I feel it's something that I haven't even talked a lot about on my Instagram page as I started to run my business and like place myself as this like voice alchemist mentor, which is something quite recent at the end of the day. It's something that just came to me like a year ago exactly. Like I just remember this soul's calling of mine to teach voice and work with voice, and finally sort of validate this desire of mine that I've always had on working with creative expression in this particular way and becoming a singer. So this is something quite recent for the level of, achievements of transformations that have already happened in my own life in relationship to my own voice, but also in the women that have worked with me, is completely mind-blowing. But this is really a testament of what happens when you are really finally awakening to what is this soul's assignment that you had here, and this is the magic that just happened. But yes, I'm coming from a background on technology. So I studied design management, and life just took me very quickly in working in the technology sector as well. And it was in 2017 that I was working at the University of the Arts in London in a job that I was in for like more than 8 years. So I was working as a creative learning producer there. And what started to happen is that all these projects on technology, like the future of technology, the future of education, started to come into my field. And that was very interesting, because at the end of the day, I was not someone who was very actively like an advocate for technology, but that was like a topic that came to me all the time. And it was almost like, it was like a force coming to me. And then over time, I understood why. And this is the conversation we're going to be having today. And it was like, yes, the universe sending me all this science, technology. And I dived into it. So I started to produce events. I started to produce learning programs as part of this university that I worked at, that focused on exploring the future of technology in the arts, design, and educational field in London at that time. So I even co-founded an organization that was called Feminist Internet. At that point, I consider myself a feminist. I was actually quite radical feminist at that point, because it was like my own alchemy that I had to go through in really recognizing my own feminine essence, and the divinity in my feminine embodiment, that was really what I was craving for. But then at that point, the only reference that I had was feminism. And for some reason, I ended up co-founding that project that made a lot of like beautiful progresses from the matrix point of view, from what we consider like good positive impact in the world. I was doing very powerful stuff there, no? And it all sort of like questioned a little bit the way that we related to technology. So I saw myself immersed in these conversations all the time on like, what is technology gonna look like in 2030? Where are we heading in the way that we're using technology? And it was almost like this feeling of outsourcing what technology really was, no? And there was always this thing of, okay, I know I'm doing something positive for society, or at least that was the programming that I was brought up with, no? I was doing progress. There was a lot of things coming up that felt positive for how things were heading, because we were looking into questioning the standards and the way in which, for example, you could interact with Alexa. Like we prototyped a feminist Alexa, like very interesting stuff, okay, from the point of view of where I was at that time. But once again, it was like this pattern of outsourcing all the time our power. It was almost like someone was giving us the technologies that they built, and we had to fight against the way it was coded. And it was always this fight, and it was always this outsourcing of our power. And then over time, I realized after so many alchemists that I went through, of course, like so many self-discovery, so many realizations on, I am not where I'm meant to be. I'm not on my soul's purpose. This is not really the type of work I want to be putting out there. I retracted from all these projects. And then that was when my spiritual awakening as such started in 2020 during the pandemic, in a moment where I completely sort of like disconnected from that world, or almost disconnected from that world. But I saw there was another path, no? And at that particular point, I started to realize that this sort of like unfulfillment that I felt working on those topics, no? On technology, on yes, questioning and envisioning what is the future of technology and education and everything that we were heading towards, I realized that, yeah, the common pattern that made me feel unfulfilled at the end of the day was this disconnection and this realization of, guys, we are the technology. We are the technology. And the more that I delved into my own body, into the power that we have as women, that was when I started to work with the womb and I started to connect with my cyclicality. I realized, wait a minute. We are here talking about where the future of AI is heading, and no one has taught us at school that we are cyclical beings, that we have a womb, that this is where our creative power emerges from, that this is where all the stored emotions get stored off throughout our lives, throughout, like, you know, our whole ancestors and lineages. Nobody taught us that we carry this DNA and this wisdom in our bodies. And now I'm here, I'm already 28. I was just going through my Saturn return at that point. So it was like a big existential crisis. And it was like this sort of realization of, wait, can we just stop having the most irrelevant conversations on how we are creating the technology outside? And can we just have a moment to just recognize the ancient technology that we carry in our own bodies? Now, so to me, it was like my own alchemical process of realizing that I had outsourced that power, that idea of innovation, of looking not to the future and envisioning a better future on the outside items and devices that supported us. But then there was this part of me that was completely neglected, which was my body. And that was a time where I was experiencing a lot of anxiety, and it was very hard to keep up with life in general, right? And that's when all the tools that I'm currently using and that have made me the woman that I am, the powerful embodied woman that I am, that's when it started to come into my life. Astrology as a symbolic language, embodiment practices, womb practices, creative expression, you know, it all started to piece together in a magical way that at that point I would have never imagined that it would lead me to where I am today, like leading these powerful transformations, working with voice as the vehicle. But it was like all a sort of, this journey of realization of, guys, we have the most ancient, powerful technology in our bodies, and we haven't been taught. Like the system hasn't taught us at all how we work. So it's our responsibility to do what it takes to disconnect from that matrix and really like source our own power from within, and realize that at the end of the day, whatever technologies that we reproduce on the outside, because at the end, I think we're just trying to reproduce, this is my own belief, right? But we're trying to reproduce something that we already have the innate ability to do in our own bodies, and so much more that we can do that machines will never gonna be able to replicate, right? But we are neglecting the true technology. And to me, the most fascinating thing, going back to your question on what is the most fascinating thing about the technology that we are, right? It's just realizing that we have the freaking power to create our own reality, but we cannot create from the minds like we have been taught, or how the technology sector right now is creating technology. Like, we have a divine channel in our own vessel. We have a womb, which is a creative portal that is able to give birth to biological life. We have a throat that is able to create realities with the words. So what about we start doing progress and really getting to know more of this ancestral technology? No? So what is more fascinating for me is just that we all hold this power, and we're just remembering now. We are remembering that we have always had that power, and that probably we were looking for it on the outside, or even outsourcing it, not waiting for things on the outside to make us remember who we are or what we are capable of doing. But the reality is that we have this endless, well of wisdom accessible to us at all points. And yeah, we're finally remembering, which is something definitely to celebrate. So this is my answer to your question. Probably went on a tangent there, but it felt relevant to share it.
That was a beautiful tangent. And wow, it's like, what can we do so all women remember this? And I feel like we're at such an interesting time. And, there's so many women in my world that I support with their businesses. And everybody is like, how can we leverage AI more? Like, how can we use these technologies, these outer external technologies, to be more efficient and to, produce more, and all of these softwares, these programs, like, they've added so much ease to our lives. The ability to create a business and be on the internet has created so much freedom for us. But at what cost? And this is something I've really been contemplating, having a digital marketing agency, being online a lot. My journey of remembrance was, that's a whole other story, but, there was a time in my life where I wasn't living in my body. And there's been a returning home to that. And I'm still, always revealing new layers of who I truly am. And at the same time, I'm projecting a lot of my focus into these external technologies, as you were saying, like outsourcing our power in some way using these technologies. And so what would you say to the woman in business who, she wants to stay up to date with technology? She wants to leverage these systems and these tools and these AIs to optimize her time freedom and to just be more effective in her business. But, ultimately, I know the people that I speak to, like, they really want to, a desire to be more in their bodies and more connected to their own magic and their creative channels. And so what would you say to that woman that really wants to leverage the technology that she is? Where does she go? What does she do? Where does she look? How does she really harness that? Take a breath and drop in with me. I have an important message and invitation. Your body of work is far too sacred and intimate to force and manufacture. You are done overthinking, overdoing, and overstriving when it comes to bringing your body of work to the world. You are ready to claim a new paradigm where the body and your frequency lead. You understand this is life's work and not just another offer. You understand that the most natural way is always the highest path. If this feels true and you're ready to turn on to your work in an enlivened way, I invite you into my private mentorship community, Body of Work. Join me for quarterly strategenic sessions, my signature body-based strategy method, get access to my amazing team at Presence Media, including our done-for-you services, and drop in for weekly Q&A, monthly business workshops to mastermind on your business, and regular somatic sessions hosted by my favorite practitioners. If you have been desiring community and support for your business and are ready to fully submit to the process of developing your body of work in highest alignment, your invitation awaits. See show notes for link and details. Now back to the episode.
No, I love that. I love it. So where do you go? First of all, you go inwards, because really the body holds all the answers. So every single time that we are just going on to ChatGPT to find for that specific answer to our question, what if we also train our minds to rely on our own guidance, internal guidance, and channeling abilities? No, so what I would say is just as an invitation to play a little bit more with your own psychic abilities, which all of us have as women. What about next time you're just about to go on to ChatGPT, for example, to get some guidance on, I don't know, what's happening right now on astrology transits, or why am I feeling this, or should I post about this, or how could I get this message out? Just training the mind and building that trust in your channel to just have a little check-in moment with yourself first. What happens if you just close your eyes for a second, you just check in with your womb, you check in with your heart, you place one hand on top of your heart and womb, you just take a deep breath, you let it all out, maybe making some movements, maybe doing some sounding, humming, doing some sound, whatever is it that comes out, and ask your higher self that specific question. And that could just literally take 2 minutes, but that could change forever the way that you navigate as well technologies. Because when you start training your own mind to rely, first of all, in your own guidance, what happens is that you, over time, you build this trust in your own, it's like a muscle, no? Going to the gym, you build this trust in your own channel, and you realize that at the end of the day, oh my God, I was about to outsource this answer, but I already knew, because we always know, no? And that, when it comes to more specific queries that you have, or when you're seeking some sort of guidance, right? But then, of course, when it comes to just getting some support in getting more efficient, I really believe that these tools are here to support us, but not the other way around, no? So always seeing where the balance is, and making sure that every time that you are using a tool, you're really using it from a space of, okay, this is in alignment. Because, for example, there's a lot of tools that I consciously don't use because I don't feel it's in alignment with me, sharing some data with some of these companies. So, for example, it's just always checking in with your channel and your womb, what feels right, what doesn't, and to what extent. No, and you don't have to follow the trends that you see out there on social media in order to get more engagement. It's really about trusting more the channel and realizing that you also get to just tap into what's alive within you in every now moment and create from that space. And sometimes you don't even need to follow those trends. You don't even need to follow anything that anyone is doing, no? And I really believe in the power of, just for these little things that just take a couple of minutes to check in with yourself first and see what is this voice inside of you guiding you to do. Can you just create space for a couple of minutes to just hear that voice? And maybe then you're going to act on something else, but at least you will have trained yourself to just go inwards and listen first. And I feel that is the missing piece in a lot of this, in the way in which as women, we have been taught that we had to run our own businesses and build our own legacy, no? So we just took a minute before doing anything that requires something external to just check in with ourselves. I feel that could already change someone's way of operating and running their business and being in their soul's mission.
Yeah. And I do want to deepen into the technologies that exist in our bodies, like the voice, which is just mind-blowing, in the womb. But first, I would love to ask you and have you tune into your intuition. What do you feel like is happening to humanity? Because I'm sensing some kind of divergence. There are the humans that are becoming technology, and there's a whole movement, the transhumanism movement, where there's a potential timeline where we're inserting chips into our body. We're not far away. This is already happening on a prototype level. Not only are we actually inserting external technology into our bodies to heal and correct medical problems, but also, biohacking and just becoming more efficient humans using external technology. And so there's that movement and like that school of thought and that's happening. And there's also like what is happening to our brains and our consciousness and our attention span by being so connected to digital devices and we're losing the ability to be able to focus and concentrate. And like it's actually rewiring our brains. So I'm seeing this divergence of people that are literally being shaped by technology. And then I'm also seeing, and this is in more in my pocket of the algorithm and the world, women who are really coming back to their body and to nature. And so what are you seeing as like a future as we do become more integrated with technology external to us, but many of us are actually leaning and remembering and activating our movements and our voices around coming back into our body and the technology that we are?
I love this question. Oh my God, so much to unpack in here. So I believe that the reason why right now there's so much interest in hacking the body for whatever agenda, like I'm not going to get into like whose agenda are we following here, because otherwise that's just a whole other conversation.
That's another podcast.
On another podcast episode, okay? But what I'm sensing here is that because everyone knows that the body is such a powerful instrument, because everyone is aware of that, they are trying to hack it before actually providing the real value on how you can hack it yourself with the tools that you already have. So for me, also relying on this way of related to technology, like introducing chips, like that is, on my own opinion, that is a way to also have the wisdom and the ancestral remembrance that we hold in our bodies and to also control our minds. Because at the end of the day, when we realize that we are already so, we have so many metals inside of our bodies right now with like radiation and so many like chemicals in the food, like that's already happening. No, there has been a lot of information that has been coming into our bodies, like materia that doesn't naturally belong to our bodies, and that we know that by radiation, there's like also frequencies that are coming into our biological bodies and also affecting the way in which we are thinking, in which we are feeling, in which we are relating to each other. So we know that there is something that is happening on that sense, no, in that realm. So knowing that and being aware that right now, really like one of the most powerful tools that we have is our frequency, like the way in which we can heal our own bodies is through frequency. Knowing that, I wouldn't, for any reason, I wouldn't allow any external devices to come into my vessel, because my vessel is too sacred. And I don't want any like external agendas coming into my body biologically. And even if it's just for a health reason, or even if someone really backs that up, right? For me, it feels like a full body womb no. I wouldn't let any external devices to come in and hack the way in which my system operates, because I believe that our bodies are these divine instruments that are designed to work divinely and perfectly. They are designed for that, in the same way that you see a tree growing on the outside and they don't even have to second guess how to grow trees or flowers or fruits. They just know what to do. And ourselves as human beings, that is also part of our nature, because we are an extension of that. But the only thing that happened is that we have forgotten that we already have this ability to fine-tune and to heal and to restore this balance and this harmony in our own bodies. And that's why we are also outsourcing our power with these devices, with these external solutions that someone has, sold to us as the ultimate healing, hacking, not to come back to balance, which at the end of the day, when we're talking about balance frequentially, it's just health, no? So from me, that's like, I'm very firm about that. And I really believe that it's just something that I would never allow. And that said, I know that there's still, like all these heavy metals that are coming in, from different sources, from air pollution, from from the food. Like, I am aware of that, and my commitment every single day is to use what I already have in my body, and of course what nature gives me. My commitment is to come back to like vibrate at a higher frequency in every now moment. And that's where, for example, one of the most powerful technologies that we have, which is our voice, that's when voice can also be like a support. That's when, you know, movement, conscious movement can be also a support to restore that balance, no? But yes, I would never trust any outsource thingy to come into my body and to hack the way my system operates, because I truly believe that we are divinely created, and there is a reason why we were created this way. So I wouldn't be keen to modify that following someone else's agendas and not trusting that I do have the natural ability to heal myself from any, let's say, imbalance.
Yeah, I like how you mentioned, you know, these things in our outer world that do impact these vessels, right? That even if we live the cleanest, most pristine lifestyle, you know, we're not going to be able to eliminate all of them at this stage, and to worry about it is really causing more suffering and disease in our bodies anyways. So, you know, I love how you said you have practices, and that frequency, working with your frequency, is a way to heal this, that we have power over within our own bodies. So can you speak more to the healing power of frequency and how we can work with our own vibration to heal, and how the voice, and I know, gosh, you've recorded like there's so much on the metaphysics of voice and the healing powers of voice that we would record probably a 10-hour podcast if we got into all of it. And I will share some links to some of your masterclasses and what you've done and the depth of your body of work on this. But just to get us started, you know, can you speak to the frequency, our frequency, and how we can use the technologies within us to stay vibrant and coherent and healthy?
I love that question. Thank you, Meghan. Yeah, so I always love to start with this like basic idea that everything in the universe is in a state of vibration. No, we know that. We have heard about it. We have heard about it a lot, no? But it's like, okay, but can we also tap into this reality that also the organs in our own body, we are also in a state of vibration, no? And what I love to also relate to, because when we look at like quantum physics and the metaphysics of the universe, we also see a correlation with the music theory, no? And what happens is that if everything is in a state of vibration in the universe, that means that also everything is emitting some sort of sound. Everything is emitting some sort of frequency. Everything is emitting some sort of melody, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, it's almost like our bodies are just guitars, right? And the different organs that we have are different strings, right? So every single string, every single organ is meant to be emitting a very specific frequency, which is what we call health, no? When things are operating as they should, they are vibrating at their natural frequency. That's when we have ease, when we have health in our own physical vessels, right? But what happens is that when there is a distortion, when there is an excess of energy in one of these organs, it's almost like this string needs to be attuned to the right tone, because otherwise the whole system is not sounding like it's supposed to, no? And there's some sort of like, there's something that is just breaking that harmony, that natural harmony. So this is what happens to our bodies when there is something that it's not in balance, right? We can sense it. We can also perceive that when there is this ease, no, that at the end of the day is just an unbalance that could be finally coming to the physical vessel, but probably in the first instance, it was an emotional need, an emotional like process that maybe was not fully felt, and it just got like stored in there. It could be something created from your unconscious beliefs about what is possible for you and your reality. Like, it could have a million ways of being manifested in the physical vessel, but at the end of the day, it just all turns into vibrations. So when we look at our own bodies from that perspective, our own responsibility, and I mentioned that earlier, the only responsibility that we have on a daily is to attune the instrument that we have, because we know that when we do it, things are just flowing. We are receiving the messages. We are receiving the creative force, not to create whatever that we have to create on that day, to have the conversations in a truthful way with our loved ones, to just show up and be at service. We know that the highest service that we can do is to just make the whole instrument just be attuned. Because what happens when we do that is that our electromagnetic field is charged up. There is no blockages in our channels, in whatever like different chakra that maybe that excess of energy is. There is nothing that blocks this life force energy that wants to come through us, or this information that needs to be downloaded into our bodies. There is no blockage, and we just become these divine messengers, no? So when you look at it from that perspective, it's almost like we need to have this commitment with our channels to clear them out and to be present in the body, feeling what is it that I need in every single moment, and realizing that you get to lean into the practices that work for you, be it like movement, embodiment, sounding, voice, which we can elaborate a little bit more on voice, no, here. But it's like we have all these tools that we can just lean into every single time that we see that vibrationally there's something that's not quite right. So we have this power in every now moment, right? Because when we hear there's this harmony, the only thing we have to do is just, okay, listen to ourselves. What is it that I need? What can I give to myself? And how can I make sure that, yeah, I'm just opening up the vessel to release whatever is holding me back, no? Because then, yeah, the frequency, that melody that is emerging from your own electromagnetic field is not fully the one you came here to share with the world. And then, yeah, energy gets stuck. And then maybe you say things that you don't want to say because you're just reacting from an emotional wound, or maybe you're just not being fully true to yourself and what you feel in your womb because you're afraid of being rejected. Like all these things just come into place, no? So really for me, just looking at this perspective, no, on how our bodies are vibrating, and by nature creating this melody, creating this sound, really helps me just come back to the sovereignty that I have as a woman, knowing that I have that power as well, working with vibrations, with the vibrations of my voice. I have the power to shift the frequency to which my own body is vibrating with the same language of the universe, which is vibrations. And I have the power to unlock this blockage, to release whatever that is just not longer serving me, that is not allowing me to fully be this divine bridge, no, between the earth and the heavens. And that I know, and I have seen evidence that every time that I do it is highest service to myself, because I'm creating more health, more balance, more harmony, more congruence in my life, but also for everyone that I'm supporting and that I am serving just by being in my frequency, even if it's just like being in my frequency when I share a post, or being in my frequency when I am delivering a masterclass, or being in my program, no? So it's always like seeing this as this exchange of energy, and really seeing that everyone has also this responsibility to be emitting their own true authentic frequency out into the world, because that's when you are in alignment, that's when you are on mission, because there's nothing holding you back. There's nothing like creating sort of like a distortion, no, in this frequency that you're emitting. So yeah, I really believe that as these new earth leaders that we are, shifting the paradigm, doing things in a way that feel really aligned, you know, in connection to our wombs, our truth. This is the responsibility that we have. Just uncover more of what is this unique way of sharing this melody, of sharing this frequency, and always staying committed to do what it takes to come back to this authentic frequency, you know, that at the end of the day is gonna just bring about healing for everyone, for the whole of humanity.
I love that. Yeah, for me, it's the vessel, the vulva, and the voice. The body, the womb, the voice. Like that's the sacred channel that I feel like when we can get those three things right and aligned, like we are a conduit to bring through our highest work into the world. And so can you dive in a little bit deeper into the technology of the voice and the womb? I was really fascinated in your mastermind, like really learning anatomically how similar, how mirrored these two areas are and how they relate to each other. And so I would love to hear you speak to that, and how really through the alignment of these centers, we can open up to become channels to our divine mission and message in the world.
Yeah, I would love to dive into that. Amazing. So yes, I always love to share a little bit about the anatomy, no? Like what is this connection between the womb and the throat, because when you see it from that anatomical perspective, you realize, oh my God, it's really like that. And sometimes for the mind, we need that we need those insights, to get in the flow and really then also open up to the more metaphysical connection, the more energetic connection that exists, no? So when we look at it anatomically, what we realize is that whilst we were in our mother's womb, there was this membrane that I think it was like 15 years after just being conceived, you start developing a channel, like an actual channel that at the end of your own development, it's going to become, on the top, there's going to be the mouth, and at the bottom, there's going to be the vulva, like the vagina. So literally you have on the same membrane where we were born, we started developing this channel that, comes from this same particular like piece of flesh, which is completely fascinating. So actually this channel gets to be built from very young stages when we are being developed in our mother's womb. But then there's so many other connections, such as the fascia. When we look at the fascia, which is this network of muscles that embrace all of our organs and all of our skeleton, we realize that we are all connected through these tissues that are just embracing each other and creating this web, what we call the fascia. And there's been a lot of already scientific proof, and you can see that when you go to any specialist on jaw tension or our professional on the pelvic floor, in order to release the tension that exists in one place or the other, they will be leaning into this other counterpart. So if you are struggling with pelvic floor, they will make you do exercises to stop clenching your jaw or to release the tension in your jaw, because it's really connected through this channel, but not only through the fascia, which we know that the fascia also is what stores the emotions, because it's what it has the information, the water in our bodies, and that's what's fascinating, because we know that the fascia just stores whatever unprocessed emotion. That's why it's important to lean into movement, to make the different, part of the bodies vibrate, so that this water, this memory can be liberated and the emotions can just flow through. But not only that, but we also have the vagus nerve, which connects the back of the throat with literally the bottom part of your spine. So then you have another channel, which is the channel of your wait a minute.
Nervous system?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. That is not the channel of the nervous system. So it's also been proven, scientifically, that when you make sounds that make the vagus nerve vibrate, you are stimulating this channel. You are stimulating the back part, which is all the throat area, also the bottom part, and all the organs in between are also getting like an internal massage. And that's why I always say that when we are working with voice, we are working with vibrational surgery, because it goes straight to all the internal organs that we have, all our internal world. So these are some aspects that connect the throat and the womb, right? But then, of course, we can also talk about, okay, but energetically and metaphysically, what does it really mean as a woman to have a womb and to have a throat and a mouth to speak things into existence, And I always feel like it's almost like a mirror to each other, right? Because, in the womb, we have this natural ability to create biological life. So I always love to say this, as one of my mentors taught me, like the womb is this quantum portal, right? To the endless possibilities. It's where things emerge from. Like we have a portal inside of our bodies, which is our womb. Like something that didn't exist before can be birthed from this space. So literally, this is like a vortex. We have a vortex of energy, of endless possibilities in our own bodies. So this is the feminine principle. We can create something from there. That's where our sexual creative life force energy comes from. And then on the other counterpart, we have the throat, which is what creates vibration. And the vibration is light. And that is the masculine principle. So once again, you have like this, this interrelation of, okay, the masculine and the masculine and the feminine principle, they work in partnership. They are not separate to each other. We know, and we have seen how they are connected. So it's a matter of just bringing more coherence into how we are using our creative life force energy coming from the womb, the feminine principle, and what is it that we are impregnating with our vibrations, with our words. how are we speaking to the world? How are we speaking to others? How are we speaking to ourselves? Because these vibrations that you're going to be emitting are going to impregnate, this egg that comes from our womb with possibilities. And that's how you can create realities, by really seeing what are the vibrations that you are emitting, not only with your voice, but also with your electromagnetic fields, no? Like, what are the thoughts that are ruling your mind? What are the emotions that you're allowing to, to feel through, so they don't get stagnant into your body? There's so many aspects there, no? But, we have this connection, and from a metaphysical point of view, you have the masculine, the feminine principle. And something that I always love to say is that these two portals of expression and manifestation in a womb are connected to a very important part, which is the one that holds these two polarities, which is the heart. So it's very important that when you look into your own channel, no, as a woman, on, okay, this is what I'm desiring, this is what I want to create, and this is like the energy that comes from your womb. Great, but make sure that you filter it through your heart, because through your heart, you will know whether what you are desiring to create is going to be in alignment with your truth and what you came here to do, no? Because the heart is the center for unconditional love and forgiveness, and it's just where our truth, personal truth, resides, no? It's our inner knowingness as well. So every time that you feel that desire, before speaking out into existence, before taking that masculine action, making sure that it's in congruence with what we feel is right for us, before we share those vibrations and impregnate that reality, and vice versa as well, no? Like, it's like, okay, it's something is coming from the mind and I want to say this, okay, but 1 second before saying it, don't disconnect what you are expressing out from your body, because I feel like so many of us women have lived in this space for way too long, no? Like communicating, expressing a lot of things, but not really filtering it through the wisdom of our bodies. So every time that there's an energy coming through, also filtering it down, no, through the heart, making sure it's in connection with our truth, and then also, driving it to our womb to make sure that it's also aligned with our womb's desires, no, and our most like deep feminine wisdom, because that's where it resides. So it's almost like this channel is always like in conversation, no? And the more that you train it, the more that you realize, oh my God, I have this incredible technology in my body to make sure that I'm always taking aligned action that's like in alignment with my heart, with my womb. We have this technology, but it's a matter of listening, taking the time that we need as well, no, before taking that action, and leaning into the body and letting the body also show us, and through sensations and through those tingles, or maybe that rejection that you feel sometimes, whether something is a yes or a no, and relying more as well on those signals of the body, understanding this channel so that we can also use it for our highest service, to create really what we came here to create, no, as souls.
Oh, I love that. I mean, there's such a craze out there in the world about like manifesting your reality. And I know that I got started with like the Abraham Hicks, and then just manifestation became this obsession. But at this time, it still was like a neck up type of, projecting something into a vision board, and then taking very big risks in my life and like recalibrating to new realities. And there wasn't this whole like filtering and like digesting something through the full body. And I feel like this is ancient technology. Like our ancient ancestors knew this. And then there's been many, many generations of women that have forgotten. And now there's this return, there's this movement to remember and return into our bodies, and to be able to leverage the technology that we are to create, to manifest. And so I want to learn more. You call yourself a voice alchemist, and you use voice alchemy to help women, specifically women that have messages to share, that have personal brands, to manifest and create in the physical world. Can you explain more how you would work with a woman to really become a vessel of creativity and manifestation through her body?
I love this question. Thank you, Meghan. Yeah, of course. So how I would work with a woman, no, who is here on a big mission, who wants to share and has this desire to create impact, to share her truth, not to support others, really, be at highest service as well. So the way that I see it, because from my own lived experience, the work that I do is really my life's work. So all the alchemists, the biggest alchemists that I've had in my life, have had to do with how I was able or unable to speak my truth, no, with my loved ones, in partnerships, in relationships, with friendships. Like growing up, I always had such a big block at really being able to be true to who I was and what I stood for, no, for fears, for a lot of trauma as well. So my life's work is what I'm right now offering to the world, because I had to embody this, no, like the medicine that I'm sharing right now. I had to walk this path, and I continue to walk this path, and because I'm like very open and very raw so many times, no, inside the inside the voice mastermind. Like this continues to be my life's work, no, because it's the alchemy that I continue to be on in order to step into this next level of empowerment, of sovereignty, as the whole woman that I am. I know there's so many edges that are going to be just starting to appear in my life in the right moment, in the right time. So, through my own lived experience, I realized that there's a lot of power in working with voice as the vehicle. And this is the work that I currently offer. And generally speaking, the work that we go through during, for example, the voice mastermind, it starts with really like the basics of really understanding a little bit more the mechanics of our voice, no? Because so many times in our lives as women, we just take for granted, no? Like, how are we actually producing voice? So there's a lot of power in us really dropping into our own body, into this technology that we have, and understanding, okay, but how is voice being produced? How am I creating these vibrations without even thinking about it? Like, we just know how to create sounds. At the moment that we were born, we just cried out loud. That's the first expression that we express out into the world, no, as human beings, and nobody taught us how to do it. So that already says a lot about the importance of voice and the importance of expressing things out into the world. That is literally the first thing that we do before even breathing. So it's like voice is this conduit of consciousness that we came here to get in contact with and to really understand how it works. So the more that we also put our awareness into how it's produced, the more powerful and healthier it will become. Because as well, something that I've seen in so many women is that they lose their voice very often, right? And that used to happen to me a lot when I realized, like, over time, that it was because I was not really being true to myself. No, at so many points I shut my voice when I truly wanted to say something, or I had hid away from sharing my truth or speaking my desires or speak boundaries specifically, in my case and in the case of so many women. So, really dropping into the voice and realizing, okay, how does it work? How am I producing voice? And can I just bring more awareness into the whole production of voice? So, we look into posture, we look into breath, we give a lot of love to our diaphragm, which at the end of the day is a muscle that so many times it's not even appreciated, or even like we just pretend it's not there, and it really rules, like our breathing abilities and also the ability that we have to produce sound. So, making all these mechanisms that work so beautifully, perfectly, and divinely without thinking about it. But we know that when we make something aware, we just improve its own ability to be this perfect mechanism that it is. So we start this journey of really, understanding how it works and how it's always worked, and how can we just bring more ease into how we're producing it. But then the fun part begins, which has to do a lot about really starting to see voice as like a divine channel. So big part of the work that we do is really me inviting the women to trust more their channel through exercises and through leaning into channeling practices that I love to share as well inside my voice mastermind, such as light language. So we had our call on light language, where I invited the women to trust their voice and connect it with their heart and their womb, so that they could start transmitting sounds and frequencies that did not come from the logical mind, and that once again created evidence that every single time that you use your voice and you share your voice with others, even when it's not following any logical, even if you don't really understand what's going on, there is positive impact. There's like healing ripple effects of you sharing that voice. So that's a big part of the work that we do, is really in creating evidence, like creating the space so that you can create evidence for your mind that your voice heals, that your voice can create impact even when you're not articulating it from the logical mind. So I see that a lot of my work really breaks down so many limiting beliefs about what is possible for a woman, no, with her voice, what is possible with her own instrument, the kind of impact that she can create when she truly believes that her voice already is something that heals just by existing, just by being shared, no? So we lean into a lot of different practices that allow the women to get out of their minds into their bodies and really trust more in this divine instrument that they are. And then we dive into the metaphysics of voice, where I share like almost, I feel like that's the thesis, what I recorded for the Voice Mastermind, which is just a sort of like, just a gathering of really how ancestral traditions have used voice as manifestation, no, for manifesting, for also for healing, to bring about more ease into their communities, no, and how also through sharing voice with others in community can also be so healing and can create so much positive impact in the world. So there's like, that's a big leg of the work that we do as well, like leaning into, understanding that at the end of the day, this is not even about ourselves. This is not even about our own individual desires as women, as much as it's needed that we use our channel to express those because it's higher service. This is really about, the mission that we came here to do, and understanding that each one of us holds this specific frequency, that we are here, it's our responsibility to uncover, to unleash it, and to share it more unapologetically without so many masks and so many filters, so that we can really be undertaking this divine assignment that we chose to came here to do. So there's a lot of like that metaphysics aspect of voice, and really understanding that as a new earth leader, as a visionary woman, you carry a very unique frequency in your heart, and your voice is unique for a reason, no? And your highest service will always be to share it as it is, to trust that it is creating impact just by being what it is, and just unleashing more and more and more layers that are capping, no, your own ability as a woman to share what is alive within you. So I feel this is a little bit of a summary of the work that we do, but of course I could just go on for hours and talk about all the nuances. But you tell me, Meghan, if this kind of encapsulates the work we've been doing and your own experience as well, just going through the Voice Mastermind. I would love to also hear you on how that impacted you and your own journey as well.
Yeah, let me share my voice around this. I mean, what my experience, you've taught me so much, and that, like my mind has been really full, but ultimately it's the practices that, it's like the unseen activations, I think, that happens when we devote ourselves to this type of work, right? And I have been a good student. I've been doing vocal toning every day. You've taught overtone singing. I've even done some light language. And I would say, yes, like in the moment and day to day, I am feeling a lot more rooted and grounded and in my power and in my sovereignty. But ultimately, and this is the creative aspect of voice, things are shifting very quickly in my outer world. And so as I anchor really into the truth of my desires as a woman, and I take action in this like 3D reality towards, what I feel like is my highest path, everything is orchestrating in support of that. And in the past, because I've always been pretty good at like moving with desires, but there's been like this inability to hold safety in my nervous system, and to, there's been beliefs and blocks that have just made more suffering than necessary. Let's just put it that way. And I feel like this work with the voice, because I am keeping my vessel really, really clear, my energy center is really clear by focusing on the vocal toning, there's just a lot more peace and ease and joy that I'm experiencing as the world is shifting around me. So it's a huge testament. We still have another week, like we're not even complete our journey together. So I'm excited to share, even after this has all been digested. But it's so powerful. And I am going to leave a link to the next round of the calling. So if anyone's interested in going all in on voice and this technology, they'll be able to access you. Before we go, though, there's one more question I have, because I really want to speak to the technology of plants as well, because I know that you, like, plant medicine has been a big part of your awakening journey. I know you've just returned from the Amazon, where you spent some time in a medicine, like a dieta of voice, and doing plant medicine as well. And I truly believe that the plants are here to teach us and help us remember who we truly are. But I would love to hear your experience of working with the technology of plants as part of your own awakening journey and how it's helped you really use your voice in the way that you do now.
Yeah, of course, we couldn't call it an episode without talking about plant medicine. I love that. Thank you for bringing this up. Yes, of course, of course. Yeah, for me, combining with plant medicine has really marked a turning point in how I've been using my voice. And I also want to share that apart from like the actual act, a sacred act of becoming one with the plant medicine that I was not taking in ceremony, it also this like big shift that I felt over the last few months. It was also due to being in the forest in the Brazilian Amazonia with the Noquecoy people, who are the indigenous people, the original people from the state of Acre in Brazil, and really like being in ceremony with them in person, because something very powerful shifted in me being in ceremony, communion with ayahuasca with them, because it's like, it's great, no? When you look at it from that perspective of, yes, you go into ceremony and you sing and you just have that ceremonial space where you attune your own instrument, where you open up to new perceptions of life. But what happens when you are surrounded as well by people that have ancestrally just coexisted with music as medicine? Like waking every single day at 6:30 a.m. by my neighbor just singing songs to start the day with. You know, and it's like they just have music and voice so embedded in their way of living. And that taught me so much about also by contrast, no, how in the Western world we approach music. Myself, I studied music in the music school for almost like 12 years. And it was such a rational thing that I even ended up rejecting all those teachings, because I was like, this cannot be it. I don't want to have to do anything with this world that taught me to just filter music and conceive music from the mind, no? And being there in the Amazon, being with the Noquecoy people and, you know, living with them, I got to really calibrate my own way of looking at music and sound and voice as this technology that I can lean into in every now moment. And I know that every time that I do it, there's going to be an alchemy, there's going to be energy shifting, there's going to be a release, there's going to be medicine, no? So really being there, we're going to be talking about the plant medicine now, but I also wanted to honor, no, the way in which they also relate to music, because being in their own frequency allowed me to open up, to rely even more on my voice to just go on the day. Now I don't need to go to a singing circle to activate my voice. I don't need to go into one of our sessions inside the Voice Mastermind to use my voice, because now voice and music is just part of who I am. And I know that right now this is thanks to having been there and having learned how they use voice and how they lean into music to calibrate themselves to the nature that they are. No? So it's like they use music and voice and singing as this ancestral medicine that reconnects them with the truth of who they are. And the songs that they sing are songs that their ancestors have been singing forever, and they are like passed on to generations. And these hold very powerful frequencies and codes, no, that are always relating to the elementals, to nature, no, to the animals, the teachings of the animals, to the sacred plants. So there's always reference to nature, no, in all their singing, in all their music. And it was super powerful to be witnessing that firsthand, because it really helped me just conceive, you know, the power of singing to new heights and new depths as well. And then when it comes to like plant medicine, completely, like I want to share on one of my experiences that I had while I was in their aldeia, in their village. And you know, like one of my big focus going there to the Amazon was to go into the singing diet and also commune with plant medicine with them and get to learn their sacred songs, the Chirindes, and really being in their frequency, learning more about their ancestral way of living, no, and relating to music. And so this was a big intention that I had for me inside that journey. And I remember specifically, like every single ceremony that we experienced was like there was something else unlocking, no, like shifting, recalibrating. But I remember in particular one of the ceremonies where, you know, when you are in the force of the medicine, they use a lot of the power of community, you know? So you are in the force of the medicine. So instead of just laying down there in your own voyage, you know, in your own journey, internal journey of visuals, of realizations, breakthroughs, they use movement. They use the power of being in a vortex and creating a vortex in movement with sound. So they actively use their voices to keep themselves anchored to the present moment, right? So they start to create like these very mechanical movements in a circle, and they start to like run in circles whilst they sing the sacred songs, the cheating death. And I remember, you know, one of the most incredible things for me on how I learned to open up my voice in that setting was being in that vortex of energy. Like imagine being surrounded by the indigenous people, like with their powerful voices. It was like, so like, it was like a sound portal. Like imagine just a circle of, I don't know, 30, 40 people just singing at the unison, the same words, the same sounds, everyone in their own tones, but really like directing the energy, you know, towards the circle, toward the community. And I remember at that point, I was super in the force of the medicine. So it was like, thank God that I'm being right now held and we are just doing this together. And this is like the power of how they also know commune with plant medicine. It always has this component of the community involved, and that's super beautiful. So I remember that there was like this voice that just came through, and I know it was the force of the medicine that started to show me, like, relax your jaw. Like it was like this voice that came up, no, like open up the mouth like this. And I realized I was holding a lot of tension here, and that was not allowing me to just get this powerful voice out. So I started to receive instructions on how I needed to place my mouth so that I could be able to sing like them. No, so it was like, it was not coming from the logical mind. It was like a higher force just moving through me, somatically allowing me to start like calibrating my voice in a particular way so that I could be a channel for that, for those codes. No, so these are one of the experiences that I lived whilst being there, that it really marked me, no? Because I was like, okay, I'm not here to learn from the logical mind. How can I create this sound? How can I be a channel for this powerful voice? I'm just opening up to the experience of communing with plant medicine. And by being in their frequency, it's like almost the wisdom of the plant, of nature, is talking to me through my soma. Somatically, it's not coming from the mind. It's literally, I'm experiencing it in the body. And it's showing me exactly how I'm meant to be singing in a way that it feels easy, that it doesn't force my throat, that it's just coming really from this rooted, grounded space, no? So this is like one of the experiences that I lived there. And it was like, once again, the testament that truly when you're communing with plant medicine, it's like you are becoming one with all the ancestral wisdom that already exists everywhere. No, it exists in our bodies already. We don't need to commune with plant medicine in order to expand our consciousness and horizons, because we already have the technology of sound to travel through time and space. We already have the technology of breath to also go into higher states of consciousness. We can enter a trance just by moving our hips and just dancing. Like we know all of that, no? But we can also get to choose from this sovereign space. Okay, I want to experience what are the messages or what are the teachings that the wisdom of the plant, the spirit of the plant has in store for me, no? And you get to enter this space knowing that you're not giving your power away, but you are deciding to experience the magic of becoming one with nature, no? And to me, this is what plant medicine has allowed me to do. It just allowed me to drop out of the head into the body and experience life as it is when it's not something conceived or preconceived from the mind, no? Like, who are you when you're not in your head? Like, to me, this is what plant medicine allows you to do. So in my own journey, opening up voice, who are you when you sing and you're not even thinking what are you singing or how is it sounding or how are you even creating that sound or what others are like perceiving of you? Like, who are you when you become one with your voice, no? And this is the experiences that I've been able to also access thanks to communing with plant medicine, in this case, ayahuasca. So yeah, it's been super powerful, and so much more I would love to share here, but I feel like this just plants this seed of, the possibility, what's really possible for us when we decide to go on this medicine journey.
Yeah, beautiful. It's almost like, as we started this episode, we're talking about this like digital technology that is external to us, that is kind of weaving its way into our consciousness. And it's like we have this plant technology that, again, it's external to us, but it's activating a remembrance in us of the technology that we have inherent, that's been dormant and just forgotten about for most of us for thousands and thousands of years. And I personally believe, in my experiences with plant medicine, that we are being called, like the plants are calling us so strongly. And, there's this like truth that feels conceptual, to me at least, until I commune with plants, and then it becomes like a visceral knowing. And that is like, we are nature. We are one with nature. Like we are connected to Mother Earth. And that is a whole different experience when it's like a concept and when it's felt as truth in the body. And my experience with plant medicine is it's a very quick route and path to feel that as truth in the body, and to activate that remembrance, and to, activate the codes and make those shifts at a cellular level that bring us back into a state of harmony with nature, which is where I feel like we need to go to continue as a species on this planet, like coming into, that harmony and that coherence and that alignment with the most natural way, that most natural expression of our essence and our soul, and that state of alignment. And so we're gonna wrap up, but I would love to hear from you and really speak to the woman that is turning on right now, that is remembering. What can she do right now to come into greater harmony with why she is here and what she's here to do?
Woo! But what it tickles. What can she do? What's coming through is just like explore more of what she is beyond what she thinks she is. Like, what from her logical mind it makes sense that she should be doing right now. What happens when you just drop out of your head and into your heart and allow yourself to pursue a desire that does not make any logical sense. Like, to me, that is the way in which women really align with their soul's mission, like following this deep desire, this voice within that probably it doesn't fit with your plans, probably doesn't fit with the strategy that you had in mind. Probably your mind is gonna find a million ways to justify why it's not a great like choice to make. But it's like really tuning into, okay, what is this voice within you saying that you should be doing right now, and trusting that voice. So whatever that looks like and feels like, for so many women that come into my world, for them, like, now pursuing a career in singing didn't make any logical sense, but there was a voice that was like, there is something there for me. I've always desired to explore what else has my own creative expression in store for me. And I choose to just follow that voice, even though it's not following any logical sense. So to me, every time that I've followed that inner voice, every time that I've just done the thing that was complete opposite to what my mind told me, it made sense. The gifts that I have been receiving from the universe have been greater and way beyond my imagination. So really daring to follow that voice of desire, knowing that what you desire probably is not what you're gonna get, but your desire is gonna just lead you towards this next edge, this next level that probably is just gonna look even better to what you imagine. Because the mind, at the end of the day, well, we're talking about manifestation, our minds cannot even dream as big as what we are destined to be, So how can we just trust more this inner voice and connect deeper with this voice and do the thing that doesn't make any logical sense, but that deep down it feels like the right thing to do, So for me, it would be this message of encouragement to just tune in with that voice and let it guide the way, because the blessings that await for you on the other side of taking that leap of faith is just something that you cannot even imagine with your human mind, but it's definitely going to be greater than you think.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so for everybody listening, this is your permission slip to honor your heart's desires, be the glitch in the matrix, like follow the path of your heart, and it will look different than what you've been conditioned to believe to be true. It will feel different and express different than that like cookie cutter strategy or that formulaic way of being. And that is the most sacred rebellion and the most beautiful expression. And there's so many women that are stepping into this. And I feel like there is a revolution happening right now of women who are, turning into the technology and descending into their bodies and really reawakening the truth of who they really are and what they really are. And these are the women that are here to lead a new earth and who are running these businesses and these missions that are truly changing the world at a cellular level from the inside out. So powerful. This has been such an expansive, beautiful portal of a conversation. And can you tell us how people can find you? How can they work with you if they want to go deeper into your work?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, if you felt like something spoke to you, I would love to have a conversation, of course. You can find me on Instagram on Miss Afterglow. My name is Georgina Capdevila. You can also find me using my name. And yeah, we could have a conversation there. You can also find me on my email if that's something that maybe speaks to you better than using any social platform. And my email is hi@georginacapdevila.com. So I'm sure that the details can be provided inside your podcast description, Meghan. So yes, if anyone is interested to find out more about my voice mastermind of my work, I would love to share more details with you. So thank you so much, Meghan, as well, for the opportunity to share more of my medicine. This has been so special.
Well, thank you. It's been, really special to have you on here as one of the first guests. And I will include all the ways that people can find you in the show notes. And I got to have you back to talk about, we've just like opened up so many other threads. So I'm excited to have you back in future episodes to go down the rabbit holes of plant medicine and consciousness and creation and all the things. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. I have a request. Can we close with an overtone singing transmission?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. I don't know if the sound might glitch out, but we'll give it a
shot.
Why don't you guide us? Here we go.
Okay, let's go.
And if somebody is watching right now and thinking like, what the heck are they doing? Give us like a 30-second recap of what the fuck we just did.
We just sang overtone singing, which is like an ancestral practice that literally attunes your instrument to the highest frequency just by creating two different tones at the same time. Something super easy that anyone can do. Meghan also learned about it inside the Voice Mastermind. And yeah, it has such healing effects in the physical body for yourself and others that it's just mind-blowing. So this is the magic that we just shared.
You need a new technique in your business? Learn overtone singing and let all your creations come to life in ways that you could never even imagine. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode, and thanks so much to another amazing guest. If you love this episode, please make sure to subscribe to our channel. We are committed to producing weekly episodes to turn you on and tune up the volume of your voice and impact in the world. I would love to stay connected. You can come and follow me over on Instagram @thegroundedvisionary. Or if you're interested in learning more about the services we provide at Presence Media, Check us out at www.presencemedia.co. See you next week.